Okay, boys, I'm gonna be in back with the motor running in case this doesn't work out.
And it won't. Luke, if you don't believe in this, how come you're doing it?
In 1980, during filming of Carnival of Thrills, something went horribly wrong. The General Lee was supposed to jump a Plymouth, but mid-air, the car literally changed into a different model. The cameras kept rolling. The editors never fixed it. For 44 years, millions of viewers watched this impossible moment without noticing. But that wasn't the strangest part. Hidden in that same scene is something even more shocking. A stunt that nearly killed the driver. A mistake that could have ended the entire show. When you see what really happened, you'll never watch the Dukes the same way again. The whole thing starts in a quiet way that almost feels like an accident, with a small 1975 film called Moonrunners sitting in the background while most of the world barely notices it. Guy Waldron had written and directed it after hearing a strange fact that a tiny moonshine chase movie from 1958 called Thunder Road had been showing in theaters every weekend for more than 20 years. He realized people weren't just watching those stories out of habit. They loved them. They loved the danger, the engines, the crooked sheriffs, the family loyalty, and that old southern world that never completely changed. Waldron had grown up around real moonshine drivers in Kentucky, so he knew the smell of it, the roads, the fear, the thrill. Moonrunners was his way of putting that world on screen. The film didn't break records or shake Hollywood, but it caught the eye of a few people at Warner Bros. Who saw something bigger hiding inside it. That small movie ended up being the seed of one of the most famous shows in TV history. In 1977, Warner Bros. Came back to Waldron and asked him to turn Moonrunners into a television series. Waldron sat down and wrote a 20-page concept to show how the story could live on TV. The country music crowd was huge at that time, so he wanted the show to connect with them. To make the pitch stronger, he took scenes from Moonrunners and cut them together with new narration from country legend Waylon Jennings. It was funny, warm, and full of charm. The pitch tape made the idea click instantly in the minds of the executives. They could hear the humor, they could feel the tone, and they could see how action, comedy, and country music could hold a show together. Warner Bros. Loved it and gave the green light. Without that homemade tape and Jennings's voice guiding the story, the show might never have existed at all. Still, when it finally reached CBS in October 1978, nobody at the network thought it would turn into anything big. CBS only ordered 5 episodes. 5. They didn't even plan to keep it. It was just a test, a mid-season filler to plug a hole in the schedule. They had 12 extra scripts ready in case they needed them, but nobody expected the show to last. On January 26, 1979, the first episode aired. By the end of the night, everything had changed. Viewers loved it. The numbers kept climbing, and that small filler suddenly turned into a hit. CBS had to scramble to order more episodes. A simple gamble turned into a giant win, and what began as a quick patch in the schedule became a long-running classic that ruled Friday nights. Waldron had always believed the show needed a heart bigger than its car chases. He wanted the Dukes to be the kind of people who could be in the middle of a crazy high-speed moment and still pause to ask if they were doing the right thing. Not a normal TV family, but a group of cousins raised by their uncle, living by loyalty and moral choices instead of chaos and greed. Bo, Luke, Daisy, and Uncle Jesse weren't built to be flashy. They were built to be human. Viewers felt that warmth right away, and the family bond turned into the show's secret strength. The action kept people entertained, but the family values kept them watching. That same personal touch shaped the casting. In early 1979, Waldron went through a 6-week casting marathon where he met hundreds of actors. He didn't want quick auditions. He wrote scenes himself, pushed the actors into improvisation, mixed them together to test chemistry, and stayed in the room until he knew who truly fit the world he had created. He and the producer made every decision by hand. Casting a TV show in that era usually took a few days, but this one took 6 weeks. That extra time showed on screen. The cast blended into each other in a way that felt natural and unforced, and the heart of the show came alive because each person fit exactly exactly where they needed to be. The chemistry between John Schneider and Tom Wopat formed almost instantly. It was 1979. Both were in their early 20s, both carried guitars around set, and both had the kind of easygoing personality that matched the Duke cousins perfectly. They became best friends on day one and stayed best friends for more than 45 years. Schneider once said he couldn't imagine life without Tom. Their trust was so strong that they even protected Catherine Bach on set, jokingly questioning any guy who came to see her. That real-life friendship poured into their scenes and made their on-screen bond feel honest. Catherine Bach brought her own spark to the set. When she auditioned, the producers wanted Daisy to dress in a turtleneck, go-go boots, and a poodle skirt. Bach had other plans. She showed up with cut-off denim shorts because she believed Daisy should look confident and modern, not stuck in the past. The producers hesitated, but her idea won. Those shorts became famous and eventually turned into the term Daisy Dukes. Network censors were so nervous about how short they were that they made her wear flesh-colored pantyhose to cover her legs. She found them uncomfortable and hard to explain during diner scenes, but she wore them anyway. The look ended up helping define her character and became one of the most recognizable styles in pop culture. Denver Pyle added something deeper to the show when he stepped in as Uncle Jesse. He had served in the Army Air Corps during World War II, flying missions in the Pacific. He had already appeared in more than 200 television projects by the time he joined the show in 1979. His calm voice, steady presence, and quiet authority weren't acting tricks. They came from real life. He guided the younger cast members, especially Schneider, who always said that Pyle helped him stay grounded during the madness of fame. Uncle Jesse became the anchor of the show because Pyle himself was an anchor. The show's world grew even bigger on January 26, 1979, when the premiere episode called One-Armed Bandits went live. About 22 million people watched it, a massive number for a brand new series. It introduced Bo, Luke, Daisy, Uncle Jesse, and the bright orange 1969 Dodge Charger that the world would come to know as the General Lee. CBS had treated the show as a temporary fix, but after that night, it turned into a permanent part of American television. The energy of that premiere set the pace for everything that followed. A huge part of that energy came from a stunt that has gone down in history. In the very first episode, the General Lee made a 16-foot high jump across 82 feet over a police car. Gary Davis drove it, and they got it in one take. The car was destroyed afterward, but that jump became so iconic that the footage was used in the opening credits of every single episode. It was the only General Lee to appear in every episode. They never repeated that jump again because it was too dangerous. That single moment set the tone for the wild, fearless spirit of the entire series. By the fall of 1980, during the third season, the show had become a monster hit. It ranked among the top shows on American television and often pulled in more than 30 million viewers. It was second only to Dallas, which aired right after it on Friday nights. America loved the Dukes, and the ratings proved it. The first 5 episodes were filmed in Georgia, giving everything a dusty, real Southern flavor. Then production moved to California's Golden Oaks Ranch, also known as the Disney Ranch. They built the boar's nest on a hill there, and viewers sometimes spotted a white peacock sitting on its roof. The crew wasn't allowed to move it, so it quietly became part of the show's charm. The move to California brought more control, better sets, and more flexibility, even though some fans felt the Southern look wasn't as authentic as Georgia. Still, the episodes filmed there became some of the most loved. Sorrell Book stepped into the world with a mind that moved faster than most people could keep up with. By the time he was 19, he had already graduated from Columbia University in 1948 with honors, and 2 years later, he walked out of Yale in 1950 with a Master of Fine Arts. People whispered that he was fluent in at least 5 languages, and maybe as many as 12, switching between Russian, French, Spanish, and others as easily as someone flipping radio stations. During the Korean War, he used that gift in U.S. Army counterintelligence, sitting across from prisoners and decoding messages that shaped real missions. His IQ was said to be above 140, which placed him in the top 1% of the population. Yet he lived in a body that often pushed back against him with asthma and weight problems. When he played Boss Hogg for 7 seasons, he used his brain as much as his acting skill, shaping each line so clearly that even a heavy Southern drawl never hid the punchline. His voice, his timing, and his ability to twist language into humor came straight from that sharp mind he had been carrying since childhood. Behind Boss Hogg's huge belly was a trick that fooled millions. Sorrel Book was only around 210 pounds with a waist closer to 42 inches, nothing like the massive round figure the audience saw every week. To create that famous 62-inch waist, he squeezed himself into a custom fat suit that added more than 20 inches to his body. It was so thick and stuffed with foam that he could barely sit down and often needed help just to get back on his feet. Crew members would shape the padding for every wide shot, packing it with cloth and foam until he looked like a walking mountain. Fans believed he was truly that big, but he spent years dealing with health issues in real life and even had to lose weight after the show ended. The suit kept changing each season as his own size changed, a quiet reminder that the character so many people laughed at was carried by an actor who was fighting his own battles behind the costume. James Best stepped onto the set as Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane, but off-camera he carried a fire that refused to be ignored. In 1980, he hit a breaking point. He had been rewriting scripts on his own time without pay, pushing for better lines and better jokes, while the producers refused to credit or compensate him. They also shut the door on his request to direct episodes, even though he had the skills for it. Feeling mistreated and watching the crew get pushed around too, he walked off the show mid-season. It shocked fans and rattled the producers, who suddenly realized they had lost a piece of the show's heart. After tense negotiations, he returned with higher pay, directing opportunities, and proper credit for his writing. His stand changed the way television treated actors who contributed behind the scenes. In an era when speaking up was risky, he forced a system to recognize the work it wanted to hide. Once James Best walked away, the producers tried to replace him, but nothing clicked. They tested several actors, including Dick Sargent, yet the magic vanished. The jokes felt flat, the rhythm felt wrong, and the chemistry with Sorrel Book evaporated. Ratings dipped fast as viewers complained that something important had gone missing. After only a few episodes, the producers swallowed their pride and begged Best to return. They offered him better pay, directing credits, and full compensation for every uncredited rewrite he had done before. He came back, and suddenly the show felt alive again. Fans celebrated, co-stars relaxed, and the next seasons rolled forward with the energy people remembered. It became one of the most talked about comebacks in television, a reminder that one actor can shape an entire world when the story depends on him. Denver Pyle lived a long life in Hollywood, appearing in more than 200 shows and films, including Bonnie and Clyde in 1967, which he believed was his strongest work. But something about Uncle Jesse stayed with him in a way no other role did. He loved the character's calm strength and simple honesty, qualities that matched the way he tried to live his own life. After the show ended, he used his fame for something bigger than himself, spending his time raising money for children's charities. He traveled, hosted events, and turned down high-paying roles because helping kids mattered more. Until his death in 1997, he kept giving quietly, without fuss, without seeking spotlight. People remember him not just as Uncle Jesse, but as a man whose kindness stretched far beyond the screen. During the original run of The Dukes of Hazzard from 1979 to 1985, the show tore through an unbelievable number of Dodge Chargers. Estimates land between 300 and 320 cars destroyed, averaging 1 to 2 cars per episode across 7 seasons. Some scenes burned through several cars at once, especially jump sequences where the car snapped in half on landing. When the 2005 film came around, they wrecked another 26 Chargers, bringing the total to more than 320 cars smashed in the name of stunts. Most Chargers were never built to survive those jumps and crashes, so once a scene was done, the car was usually dragged away and replaced with another. This constant destruction made the Charger rare and more expensive for collectors once the show ended, and car enthusiasts still talk about the series as one of the most car-hungry productions in Hollywood history. By 1979, the demand for 1960 1969 Chargers reached a crisis. The show needed hundreds, and dealers everywhere were running dry. Production teams bought whatever they could find, even resorting to buying orange AMC ambassadors and modifying them to look like Chargers. Crew members used helicopters to scan parking lots and drop flyers on windshields asking owners to sell. Prices jumped so quickly that some people sold their Chargers for around $1,500, which was a big amount at the time. As the shortage grew, the show had to build fiberglass bodies and use look-alike models just to keep filming. Fans across the country noticed fewer Chargers on the road, and the show was the reason why. One series had swallowed a piece of American car history almost overnight. To make the General Lee ready for the stunts that defined the show, mechanics transformed every Charger into something stronger than what rolled out of the factory. They added heavy-duty suspensions, custom wheels, and powerful Magnum V8 engines. The brakes were loosened so stunt drivers could spin the car into perfect 180-degree slides. Inside the cars, they welded steel roll bars and cages to give drivers a fighting chance when a jump went wrong. No two General Lees were identical because everyone needed a different setup based on the stunt. The crew studied how each car handled and adjusted everything from the exhaust to the steering. These changes made the vehicle safer and more explosive on screen. And even today, stunt drivers talk about the General Lee as one of the most stunt-ready cars television ever created. There was another secret hiding in the trunk. The Charger was naturally front-heavy, which meant it wanted to dive nose first during jumps. To fix that, the crew loaded the trunk with sandbags or concrete blocks, sometimes weighing hundreds of pounds. This shifted the balance toward the rear, so the car would soar through the air and land on its back wheels. Without this trick, the Charger would have flipped forward or crashed in almost every big stunt. The added weight helped create the perfect arc that became famous across all 7 seasons. It was a simple idea that changed the way jumps looked on camera, and many stunt teams still study that technique to understand how the show made impossible physics look so natural. One of the most recognizable features of the General Lee came from its welded doors and its Dixie horn. The doors were sealed shut so they wouldn't fly open during stunts, forcing actors to climb through the windows in every episode. It added style and kept them safe. The horn was a custom sound played through a compressed air system inside the car, and fans fell in love with it instantly. People tried for years to copy that exact tune, but the version used on the show was unique. Those two details turned the General Lee into more than just a car, giving it a personality that stuck in people's memories long after the final episode aired. The show also became famous for mistakes that fans now watch with a smile. One running joke was the way the General Lee seemed to heal itself. A dented bumper or cracked panel would show up in one shot, then disappear in the next scene without explanation. Tight schedules forced the crew to film with whatever car was available, so continuity slipped constantly. With at least 69 Chargers cycling through the series, it became impossible to match every mark or scratch. Fans joked that the car possessed magic because it could survive anything and look perfect moments later. Reused stock footage created even stranger moments. In some chase scenes, the wrong driver appeared behind the wheel because old shots were mixed into new episodes. Bo might suddenly appear driving when Luke was supposed to be in control, only for the next cut to switch back. These mistakes showed how urgently the crew had to build episodes while juggling dangerous stunts, limited time, and limited cars. Fight scenes had their own quirks. In the Season 2 episode, Hazzard Connection, a villain reacts to a punch before Bo Duke's fist even comes close. He falls early, as if he knew what was coming, and jumped ahead of the choreography. Fans found the slip hilarious, and it continues to show up in blooper reels and fan edits online. Stunt work also created surreal moments, such as in the 1980 episode Carnival of Thrills. Bo is supposed to jump a 1971 Plymouth Satellite, but mid-jump, the car visibly changes models. Different stunt cars were used for different angles, and the transformation became a legendary goof. The stunt involved 32 car jumps, and one attempt even required professional driver Al Wyatt Jr. to step in. It was the kind of error only a show built on real stunts could produce. In the spring of 1982, everything around the Dukes of Hazzard suddenly froze. Tom Wopat and John Schneider walked away from the show right before Season 5 was supposed to start filming. They were tired of seeing their faces on lunchboxes, coloring books, toy cars, curtains, and posters, while earning almost nothing from the more than $500 million worth of merchandise that had already flooded America. By 1982, the lunchboxes alone had crossed 1.5 million sales, yet Bo and Luke Duke saw only their regular salaries. They believed that without the two of them, the heart of the show would collapse, and they turned out to be right. Their walkout pushed Warner Brothers into panic. Filming schedules fell apart. Writers froze. Season 5 became a storm of uncertainty, while fans tried to understand why their favorite heroes had vanished overnight. CBS scrambled because canceling the show was out of the question. They needed replacements fast, so they introduced two new Duke cousins named Coy and Vance. Byron Cherry and Christopher Mayer were chosen from hundreds of auditions, even though producers expected they would only be around for 10 episodes. Writers came up with a story where Bo and Luke left to race on the NASCAR circuit. In September 1982, Season 5 opened with Coy and Vance stepping into the spotlight. But the instant they appeared, viewers knew something wasn't right. The chemistry felt different. The charm felt dimmer. Producers had convinced themselves the General Lee was the real star, but the crowd felt the absence of Bo and Luke like a missing heartbeat. Fans reacted almost immediately, and the reaction was brutal. Viewers saw Coy and Vance as weaker copies of the real Duke boys. Ratings fell by almost 30% within the first month. Longtime fans mailed letters to CBS demanding the originals back. Others pushed for boycotts. Merchandise sales dropped, proving the show's entire appeal had never been about a car, but about the bond between the two cousins who started it all. Critics called Season 5 a hollow version of what the show used to be. Even the new actors felt the pressure. No matter how hard they tried, the magic just wasn't there. A temporary plan turned into a long nightmare. What should have been a 10-episode arc stretched into 19 episodes because the dispute dragged on for months. Coy and Vance ended up carrying the entire season from September 1982 to May 1983. For that whole year, they were the leads, and viewers continued slipping away. Writers scrambled for new stories. Producers tried to keep the energy alive, but nothing stopped the decline. When negotiations finally ended and Bo and Luke walked back onto the set, the relief was instant, but the damage had already been done. The show had lost its momentum, and recovering it would be almost impossible. Their exit was erased as quickly as it began. In the same episode where Bo and Luke returned, Coy and Vance were dismissed with a quick off-screen goodbye. No proper send-off, no clear explanation. They simply vanished, just like Chuck Cunningham once did on Happy Days. After that episode, the two cousins were never mentioned again. Even though the show tried to return to its original charm, it never fully recovered. By the end of Season 5, the audience had dropped to almost half of what it once was. The series limped on until Season 7, but the forgotten cousins of Hazzard became a strange reminder of how fragile television magic can be. When the show first began its rise, the production team had already taken big risks. After filming only 5 episodes in Covington and Conyers, Georgia, in late 1978, Warner Brothers executives saw the raw cuts and realized something powerful was happening. They immediately ordered the entire production to move to Burbank, California, in December 1978. Building and repairing the General Lee was easier in a controlled space, and they needed space because the show destroyed up to 309 cars in total. Jumps, crashes, and high-speed chases wrecked multiple cars in a single day. Having larger workshops and more stunt control meant they could keep the show running for 7 seasons and more than 147 episodes. Once the team arrived in California, most outdoor scenes moved to the 890-acre Golden Oaks Ranch in Santa Clarita. It was perfect for Hazzard County, but the stunts were brutal on the land. By 1981, ranch managers complained about broken fences, ruined roads, damaged hillsides, and wrecked drainage systems. Warner Brothers finally had to leave. The studio bought new property in Valencia so they could keep filming without worrying about destroying someone else's land. The new location gave them more freedom for bigger cliff jumps, tighter chase scenes, and more chaotic stunts that became a trademark of the later seasons. Tom Wopat shared stories of how wild the filming could get. During shooting days, he and John Schneider often handled things themselves. Cameras would be strapped to the General Lee, and Wopat would hold the clapperboard while Schneider drove. They would shoot a stunt once or twice, return to the crew, and casually say they thought they got it. The looseness of the production helped create some of the most memorable shots of the series, including Wopat's famous hood slide, which he did by accident. That easy trust between cast and crew gave the show its natural energy, even though the stunts were risky and needed careful coordination. While all this excitement appeared on screen, Waylon Jennings was dealing with battles no one could see. The singer and narrator, known for his warm voice and smooth storytelling, was spending about $1,500 a day on cocaine and pills during the run of the show from 1979 to 1985. His drug problems had already surfaced after his arrest on August 23, 1977, but he kept struggling for years. He finally quit in 1984, but the strain had already hit his life hard. Yet his narration stayed steady, giving the show its familiar rhythm even while he fought his own private war. John Schneider reached a major milestone at the end of the series. He directed and wrote the final episode, Opening Night at the Boar's Nest, which aired on February 8, 1985. Instead of dramatic twists or emotional finales, he kept it simple. The episode was light, friendly, and filled with cast cameos. He chose celebration over closure. There were no big answers about the future of the Dukes. He later said he wanted it to feel like the show had always felt, warm and fun, even in its last moments.